Welcome, everybody, back to the second episode of the Tribe Talks podcast. Once again, I am joined by my good friends Carthrick and Wolfie. Would you guys like to say hello?
Hello.
Good. Don't forget we're on a podcast,
cheers.
so people won't necessarily see your faces.
Right. I'm sitting there raising my glass of cheers, everybody. I'm like, wait a minute, podcast, right?
Yes, in this episode of in this episode of Tribe Talks, we're going to be communicating through interpretive dance. For all you listeners at home, please listen to the tap dancing segment. It will be in Morse code.
Oh, God.
So, how's your week's been, ladies and gentlemen? GAC has just started. What's the result so far?
1-on-1 so far. Waiting to see how it goes. Wednesday was fun. Getting used to all the thickness.
Oh my God.
Going around. Yeah,
Those chunky crumbs, man.
It's rough. It
is.
It is next level. I know you weren't having too much fun with that either. It's just oh boy.
No, those thick crumbs, those extra defense. Oh my God! Like, luckily for me, I think that's kind of one of the sort of differing factors between the sort of top end of Kyber 2 and when you start going into Kyber 1 and climbing higher, is that the refined datacrons don't really exist at the top end of Kyber 2, so you might see a couple of people with, maybe they've got 150% defense. You're not seeing those monsters with 250, 350% defense just yet. Or at least I haven't. I've seen some that are okay, but nothing like mind-boggling. Not like Kart's end of it, where he's like, 12, 350% defense crumbs.
Every team has 150 defense plus, if not more.
Yeah, no thank you. No thank you.
Starts to get a little bit taxing, and that's on top of course, the 15% with the health and the protection. And it's just, it's.
You have to basically relive your entire, not relive. You have to rethink your offensive strategy because you're relying heavily on percent health effects to carry you through, or instant defeats to deal with like the super thick characters. Like even C versus Malgus right now can get really challenging because the timeout risk if you don't have enough damage with your C, or you don't link things properly, you could time out with the Malgus still present, or
you definitely want to be taking in what, right? You got to take in what they, to make sure they haven't got the, if they've got that always applying ability block, the irresistible ability block, take that what in, otherwise you might be caught with your pants down.
That's a challenge too to get around.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind datacrons in practice, when we're using them and stuff. It's just sometimes there's a particular set that is just incredibly frustrating. And after that sort of 3 to 4 month period of that datacron set being around, it's just like, I'm so done. I am so done with this data set. Let's move on. Let's try something new, something squeaky. Because there's sometimes datacrons can have fun effects, right? It can be cool.
Well, yeah.
Like the Aelacron was fun. Getting those bonus turns every time. Was it she stuns?
Stun.
Or when she attacks out a turn?
Whenever she stunned, she gained a bonus turn.
And she stuns all the time. Well, she stuns on all attacks, doesn't she? She just needs to crit.
It was like attack. It was like attack at a turn, Galactic Republic stunned or something like that. So it was constant.
Yeah,
it was
that was it.
Over there.
Yeah.
That was level 6. Level 6 was when they used their abilities. They stunned, and hers
was a bonus turn on stun or something.
Yeah, the bonus turn on stun, and so then you could just chain it back and forth. It was a good time.
It was sexy. It was fun. And the thing is that sort of one wasn't as abusable on defense.
Right.
you could abuse that so much harder if you manually play that on offense compared to if it was just set on defense. I'm not saying it's not irritating, but it's not as irritating. Let me just fix Wolfie's screen once again.
They could call one of the other 4 characters instead of calling her constantly. So there was no AI that was going, whoa, well, this datacron means we only call Ayla. It's like, no, that's not how the game plays it. So
yeah.
Even the current one without the thick cron still has some interesting mechanics, but it's just the thick ones are universally applicable, while the other ones are super niche. Where it's like, the health and protection recovery on days could be kind of fun. You could have a lot of fun with that with Zeb in with the new Phoenix team with Rex.
This is the stage we got to. Datacrons Phoenix. Everything's about the Phoenix right now.
So
Wouldn't have thought it.
like if you
Weird spot in the game.
If Zeb is constantly recovering 10% health and protection on top of all the recovery, it's like he's gonna get really hard to deal with without a good team. But unfortunately, Iden still just turns them into mincemeat. So it's gonna be a team that doesn't see much defensive action. It's gonna be a team that's all gonna be about offense. So. Yeah, which is fine. I mean, there's the theory behind it right now is that there's a chance for it to take out some of the better Lord Vader comps. That's cool. And then there's a chance for it to take out some of the well, it's already beating Lord Vader without a good team.
They ran away from Lord Vader and Rebels that cannot be going and killing in the game. I disagree, good sir.
No. They ran away from Darth Vader and Rebels, not Lord Vader. It's different.
Okay.
Okay. It's different, but same.
I retract. I retract.
But yeah, anyways, it is winning, but it's like like the team that we have footage of right now. It's TIE Fighter Pilot and Tarkin with Thrawn and Moff Gideon. No, sorry, Thrawn and Maul. There's the right name.
I was gonna say.
So it kind of has some legs because Maul is like one of the bigger threats of if you'd want to do it or not. But I think Royal Guard being there would Vader would get the ult very quickly because the mark. Because like the reason they can put it off so long is that there's no debuffs on the team, and or for a while, so the ult takes forever to charge. But it was doable, so I mean, there's a possibility in that, but I wouldn't bet the farm on it working in high level Kuiper.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to push into it, but it's right now it's kind of gearing up Rex and placing that much of a priority on him is probably going to be a couple of months for me yet. I know Rex is a requirement for GL Leia, but there's the whole other, team to go around with it. So I think we're probably not going to see mainstream Phoenix widespread for at least 6 months.
Well, they'll be. I almost want to say that they'll be on the next Datacron set.
Captain Rex will for sure.
Spread, though.
At least Rex will be. Phoenix faction and Rex should be on the next Datacron set along with Jedi and Jedi Knight Cal.
Yeah.
They might throw a dark side in there. I don't know who, because we haven't had any dark side characters since the Marin, and she's already claimed.
I can't see them going back to Sith Empire. It's true.
I can't either.
We had full dark side cron sets, didn't we? So
yeah,
they might just do light side only crons. I mean, it could happen.
Yeah, it's possible. It just depends on what they do for the early levels, because the dark side teams, while obnoxious with the current set that's out right now, if they start giving turn meter to the light side teams moving forward, you're just you're gonna be too powerful. Light side's gonna. It doesn't matter if you've got 300% defense. If I can guaranteed go before you every time.
Yeah, I don't think any of us wants to see that. Oh God, here we go. Here we go, baby. That's the insult to injury right there. Okay. Relic up your nieces. Let's go, baby.
Would love to see it, because I don't think Ewoks are ever gonna get through like a thick Lord Vader cron with like 200% defense. I think that would just stop it outright.
Immune to dots, and they attack out of turning. There's something there they can turn meter train them. I believe it. Like whenever they get inflicted with a dot, they dispel it and gain turn meter. What they do with for Poggle? I mean, Poggle dispels stuff and gains turn meter. Let's say they don't do something there. Auto cleanse turn meter
the level 6 can be all Ewoks ignore defense, and I know they don't do much damage anyway.
Well, the true damage is what's supposed to help with that. Yeah, the true damage is supposed to help with that, but it's still like, I think the only way that's going to become like even remotely potable is if you take like all your Ewoks to R8, and that way they actually have enough base damage to actually do something.
So you're saying the gerbil is there? He's ready. The gerbil will be laughing, man.
I'm all for it, but this is one team where I'm just like, I don't see the point of doing this unless there's something I'm missing with her. Yeah, unless there's something I'm missing with her, it just doesn't seem like she's doing enough to elevate the fact. I mean, it will do more than they were. This is a fact, but like the last thing I need is another B team. I don't need more B teams. I need things I can punch.
How
up
about this,
significantly
Kath? How about this? How about you invest just to go back and play the C3PO event with Nisa and walk all over that team? I mean, that's got to be worth a couple of volts. Surely.
I already do that because all my Ewoks are R5. Like they're already walking all over the event.
No,
So
never
you
mind.
probably already did.
Yeah, I did that last podcast. I replayed the event because I wanted to see what Leia looked like again. And that was the same thing. Like I just went through and like I could have autoed it. I lost one Ewok, Elder revived it, and they have trash mods.
Oh man.
So it's like,
I remember that.
Must be nice.
I remember that event so clearly in my mind. That for me, that event for me was the most frustrating legendary, and probably still to this day was the most frustrating legendary event ever to compete in. You know, like the Chewbacca one was annoying, but when I played the Chewbacca event, I believe because I missed it the first time. I think I had something like Grief Karga and Mando came out or something like, and it just made it so much easier.
Oh, okay.
You know,
so much easier.
So I didn't have to worry. I was like, "Well, that's easy." Yeah. So when I played the C3PO event, it was just like, ugh. I think I've got like Gear 11, or I had back then Gear 11 and one Gear 10 Ewok, and it was just so RNG heavy. It was just like, how many assists do they get? Do they get? Who do they kill? Have they killed Elder turn 1? Reset? Oh my god, that had me pulling teeth, man.
On them, make them fast as hell. Make sure others there. This was back before the Journey guy that did the thing, so it was like, do it now, or you got to wait 3 months for it to come back, and it was like, fuck that, I'm not waiting. So,
I went that long.
Year 11, I put 2 Zetas on the team, all my best mods possible. Oh yeah,
we
were not screwing around.
I mean, you know, the event then was cool because C3PO, obviously, C3PO is a massively important character in Star Wars lore, and he's a fan favorite and all this sort of business. But he was such a cool character to have for the CLS team, and CLS is in such a unique position of being like a really old legendary that's had a couple of updates throughout the years that keep him relevant. Maybe not like, you know, GL level, but at least he's been relevant. So it was really cool to be like, ooh, C3PO translation, low cooldowns, that's amazing. You know,
somebody made the mistake of putting a Basti lead JML with Watt and TW, so I took CLS and just shot Watt in the face and then took down the team. It's beautiful.
Yep. I love it when I see that team. I'm just like, so you want to lose? Like it was a really cool defensive team until people figured it out, and then it was just a really easy defensive team. Like
it's one of those things where it's like it works in certain niches, and then after that it doesn't do anything, and people are just like, no, it's impenetrable, and I'm like, well, that's unfortunately not how the game works.
No, I mean, let's face it, nothing is right.
Well, but mechanics aren't the way that AI treats the mechanics is never the way a player would treat the mechanics. So it's like you either have to curtail the team to play it out properly. So you eliminate certain like characters so that they don't mess it up, or you just have to figure out how the AI plays it and then build a team so the AI can plays it naturally the right way, which is usually impossible.
Well, I remember when that team first sort of gained prominence, a lot of people, because Watt hadn't been out for crazy long, right? So there were a bunch of those sort of mid-tier players that maybe only had 3 stars or 4 stars or 5 stars. So you'd see the occasional player have like a gear 4 Watt, but he's got the Zeta, so they put it on defense, and he's just like, well, he's not going to survive one shot from Han. And it's just like, pop, and now you have no tech. These days, obviously, a lot of people have got like an R7 Watt because he's a requirement for Lord Vader? JMK, thank you.
Yeah, JMK.
So it's like, you still have the potential of surviving an opening barrage from a CLS team on Watt, but you're never really going to survive the opening barrage plus 2 AoEs where he's got, you know, expose on him as well. So it was in a funny place when it first came out. I remember people were hitting the roof saying, "This team is impossible to kill. JML is just recovering all his banners." His protection rather.
I need to record my my Night Sisters versus Jabba fights for you to laugh at. It's the dumbest fight in the world, but it's hilarious to watch because you literally kill Vader by sneezing on him to death. So
I mean, that's disgusting.
As long as you get to the Jabba, not Vader, Jabba. We get to the Jabba left, the only one left, and you have at least one Night Sister dead, preferably either Talzin or Asajj, or Old Daka, it doesn't really matter. And then you just put on auto basic. And what happens is that the plague ramps exponentially. Like you'll get like the 200s on it, but plague damage goes under protection.
Yeah.
So what happens is that all you do is like you just ignore his bonus protection, his protection up from losing turn meter. Like you ignore all that and you slowly just watch his health bar progress to the right. And it takes like literally within the first minute you'll kill everybody off because the plague spreads so rampantly and they can't deal with it because they're not GLs. So the whole team dies off really quickly. And then the remaining 4 minutes, because you will get down to the last like 30 seconds of the battle, is just watching plague stacks go between 100 and 300 all battle.
Oh god.
And you're just like,
is that from a data cron?
For me, it's
what's
it's
powering
it's the level 6 on the Night Sister Cron. Whenever an ally is revived or defeated, they inflict 2 stacks of plague.
I understand it now. Yeah.
So with Talzin lead, when they get revived, it counts as a revive, so it inflicts plague. When they die, it counts as that. And then Marin also gives plague stacks whenever their ally does it on her own end too. So she also gives a stack for each of that too. So they gain like 6 stacks every time somebody goes down. So it just scales crazy. Lots of fun to watch, but it's just like for me, the only reason I'd run it is because it's super cheap. Super cheap counter to Jabba that doesn't require me burning a GL, and so it's like even if I have to tap it and clean it up with
it's got its value, right?
Then
so you're losing your Daka, but definitely depending on where you're at. But it's a nice to be able to use Night Sister to kill a GL.
Yeah, but Daka these days, she only gets really used with Slacker, and who's got that guy? I mean, come on. Nobody likes Slacker.
Entirely unimportant GL. It's just, who even has him? Jeez.
Steals everything. Slacker takes everything and goes and beats Lord Vader.
Oh, man.
Because when you're facing a Lord Vader that has, 300% defense, the only way you're going to get around this team is by ramping past it. And so you take Slacker with armor and Watt, and then 2 tanks to eat damage, and that's the strategy. You just put down the tech, the weapon tech, 2 stacks of Beskar, and then just siphon. You'll go like 3 minutes of like, I'm doing nothing, and then
you'll
all
like
of
one
a sudden,
tap him.
One AOE, the entire team dies.
Yeah.
Eventually, you might sort of do something. Sorry, Scribe.
Yep, no, it's so good, dude, so good. Well, I think Slacker probably has the most ridiculous ramping of mastery, right? Out of everybody.
Well, yeah. Well,
he's got the highest ceiling.
Yeah. He steals mastery as he goes, but you can steal. They're like everyone, especially where I'm at, everyone's like R9. So it's like you're stealing tons of mastery. Yeah. So like by the end, you're hitting for like 500,000 to 1 million damage on a basic, and so you'll eventually.
That's actually really good to
kill him.
He the thing about Slacker's mastery ramping as well is it almost works like compound interest, right? Because he'll siphon some mastery, and then his base mastery is increasing by a percentage. But when he siphons again, it's increasing his new base mastery by a percentage. So each time you do it, as the longer the match goes on, he's actually ramping more mastery at a faster pace. If you know what I mean. You start off with £1 with 10% interest, you get £1.10, and then you're getting 10% or whatever it happens to be based on the siphon stacks that he's got. But there's 2 elements of it, right? There's how much siphon stacks has he got, and what's his mastery. It's kind of nutty.
I don't think it's going to compound like that. It's just keep on siphoning, just based on whatever his siphon is, and it'll just stack on and add on to whatever his mastery over there. I don't think it's like.
I'm pretty certain I looked at it.
I think it just adds on.
I'm pretty certain I checked it in Soda.gg.
You gain a percentage of mastery equal to this unit's siphon stacks until the end of the encounter, and the target loses that much mastery.
So you're just tacking that percentage that you gained onto the total
as your siphon ramp, you gain more and they lose more in the same process.
But I thought the idea was you don't, because it's not like you don't gain siphon based on what you're taking from the opponent. What's happening is the opponent lose that percentage and you gain a percentage based on your mastery.
No,
that's the element that's happening, right?
You gain siphon stacks from using your stasis strike and your
yeah,
basic.
no, I know that. I know that. I'm talking about the rampant mastery
based
here.
on the siphon, not based on what you already have. What you already have is just what you already have, and then you're gaining based on whatever the siphon is. Yeah, it's just going to add on to whatever you have.
But let me try and explain this. Like the thing I'm seeing it as is the amount of mastery you gain is based on your siphon, which is fine. But the siphon is a percentage, right? So that percentage. So say you've got 1,000 mastery, you're gaining 1,000% mastery, right? Correct? If we're just using this for round numbers,
you're gaining an amount of mastery. It's not like they say it as percentages, but it's like weirdly expressed like in the game. It's not actually.
One second.
It's a percentage, yes, but it's not like multiplicative like that.
I'm pretty certain there's 2 elements to it. That's what I'm trying to get to. Let me just open up this. I think it's under Furious Onslaught, isn't it? Yeah.
It's the AoE, yeah.
Percentage mastery, enemy save, physical damage.
Sorry, just looking at the
so
Sligo.gg page. For anybody who's not aware, you can go and look at the mechanics and everything, and give you a whole description of what's going on.
Modify stat mastery by 1% times context value. So the context value is based on his siphon stacks, right? So 1% times your siphon, but the amount of mastery that you're gaining is 1% of your current mastery. That's what I'm trying to say. There's 2 elements to it.
No, it's not based on your current mastery. It's your opponent.
Okay. Well,
right?
No, that's not.
Well,
that's
no, I mean
that
either.
No.
You're siphoning based off of your opponent over there, and you're siphoning based off of your siphon.
No, you percentage of mastery equal to the unit siphon to this unit's siphon stacks. Mm-hmm. So if you have 100 siphon stacks, you gain 100% mastery, and then the target loses that much mastery. So
yeah, there's 2 because when you're targeting a GL, for example, GLs don't lose their mastery, but you still gain your mastery. So it's not like it's literally it's not, to use RAM, it's not health steal. It's not like you're taking it away and literally adding it. It's doing 2 separate calculations. It's doing you lose, but I also ramp. So it doesn't matter if you siphon their mastery or not, because GLs are immune to it, right?
So it says gaining percentage of mastery. So it's gaining percentage of mastery equal to the unit siphon until the end of the counter, and that target loses that much mastery. So the master that we're in question. So Karth was talking about this earlier. He was saying, "I'm facing Relic 9G Lord Vaders. I'm facing all of this stuff over here. So I'm gaining more mastery because I'm siphoning from the Relic 9s as opposed to from the Relic 7s. Because the mastery that's in question is that you're siphoning is from your opponent."
Yeah.
I don't think that's true, though.
Your siphon's mastery.
I think they're losing a lot more mastery because they're higher, right? I know how it reads, but I don't think that's how, in the actual mechanics, how it's working for the character. You know, like, because you don't add mastery based on how much you take away. You add mastery based on your stack of siphon. If we ignore the whole siphoning aspect of it, think of it as just an attack, and every time you do this attack, you're gaining a percentile of mastery. That's the way we should be looking at it. It doesn't matter about the opponent's mastery. They'll lose more if they've got more relic levels, but you're not gaining more because you're gaining 2% of your mastery. That's not what it says here.
The siphon, if you have 100 siphon stacks, then it's gaining your. We can say you have 200 siphon stacks, at 200% of that. It's that percentage by your opponent's mastery.
No. That's not what it says here. So that's not what it says in the mechanics. It says modify stat mastery, not modify stat opponent's mastery. It's modifying your own mastery. That's what it's saying.
Modifying your own mastery. It's modifying your own, but the target is
the context value would be siphon. Context value is siphon, right? So
you're modifying your own, but you're siphoning from your opponent.
Let's see.
Look at the very first part of it. It says it's at the very first part of the breakdown quarry count. It says put the target from this quarry, the query. I can't say it.
Query.
query into context value. So you are using the target's mastery as your mastery modifier. So when you target a Relic 9 Royal Guard, you are gaining 100% of that target's mastery, and they're losing 100% of that target's mastery.
If you have 100 siphon stacks, so the 100 siphon stacks will be the 100.
Obviously, that's the
context
variable, right?
value is what you're multiplying by. That's what's changing.
Yeah.
But it uses their base mastery as what's being used. So you can keep stealing.
Yeah.
The mastery even if it goes negative, because Kylo can push characters into negative mastery.
So if their base mastery is 75, just because they have it as like a regular fucking number, then if you have 200 siphon, you'll gain 150 mastery numbers just tacked onto your total number of mastery.
We're here to complicate things.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to wrap my head around this, right? Because that goes into context value. Put the target from this query enemy, but that's just looking at the stun. Why is it looking at a stun there? Paralysis.
No, that's
where an active. Oh, sorry, that multiplies it, doesn't it? Right, he doubles up how much siphon, how much he siphons if they're stunned, right? Okay, yeah. Sorry, I just needed to wrap my head around that part. Generic enemy stun. So that can't be that part, right? Oh, okay, yeah, fine. Just wish they would actually, because that's just the query count there is just generic query enemy stun. That's just looking at if he's stunned.
Yeah, and like Arthur was saying, in practice, you'll see you'll end up getting hitting a lot harder siphoning off of a Relic 9 versus siphoning off of a Relic 7.
What if I stat my mastery by negative times 100%? Okay, yeah, that's if they're a GL. You don't. That's modifying that's the enemy is not losing any. Not looking at yourself, right?
No.
Yeah. What if I stat management? Yeah, so that's if the previous effect successfully executed, modified by 2% because that's the doubling up if they happen to be stunned. Mastery increased. Yeah. Percentage mastery is unit siphon at the end of the counter. I still don't think it siphons based on the. I still don't think it does, but it's not how it reads. It's not how it reads. Gain a percentage of mastery, not a percentage of the opponent's mastery, equal to this unit's siphon. That's how the actual siphon reads.
But the previous part of it says that you deal physical damage to all enemies. Kylo siphons mastery from the targeted enemy.
Yep.
Double it if they were stunned.
Yeah.
Which can't be resisted.
But that, okay. But the siphon, that's him taking away their mastery. That's not necessarily add it to your own. It's just they lose mastery.
It's all together in one.
Then in the kit,
it's all one mechanic.
Yeah. In the kit, they then explain what siphon's mastery means, which is you gain a percentage of mastery equal to the unit siphon.
This unit siphon, exactly.
And that's what we're saying. It's all one mechanic because you're siphoning from the target. It's the same exact mechanic of you getting that siphon. It's all one thing.
No, I know this, but I still think we fundamentally disagree on how this acts. Because
you're just
doesn't say.
You're just.
I think this is how they. I think this is how they've tried to separate it from being GLs are immune to it. You know, I think they've had to do it in two separate calculations because they're like, well, we don't want GLs to lose their mastery, so they've just done you ramp. Exactly. Well, they're immune to being drained, but they're not immune to Kylo gaining mastery. Because if you look at it in that context, he's not siphoning mastery. You know, he's just ramping.
He is.
Yeah, he is
literally
still
siphoning mastery. He's just immune.
He's just not taking.
They're just not losing any. Yeah. So he's still doing the effect. They're just immune to it.
They just don't have.
It's very strange.
So the way I'm looking at it. Okay, let's just say, for argument's sake, Kylo has got 100 mastery, right? I know he doesn't. He'll have 70 mastery or 85
mastery or
and
siphon.
100 mastery and 100 siphon, right? Okay. He goes up against literally any character, a GL, let's say. He goes up against a GL. He's got 100 siphon and 100 mastery, and he does a swipe. He's gaining 1%. Right, per stack of siphon, so he's gaining 100% mastery. He's looking at his current mastery. He's got 100 mastery, so he's getting 100% of that. He's getting 100 mastery, right?
No, I don't know.
That's where you got
You
wrong.
can't answer that. You can't answer that question until you know
Why
what
not?
your opponent's mastery is. Because you're
Doesn't say
siphoning from
here.
your opponent.
Yeah.
But it doesn't
Siphon
matter in
mastery
GL's case,
from,
right?
From target enemy.
Yeah, the mastery.
But that's a separate calculation.
No,
That's
it's all the same thing. It's all one thing.
no. Because look at this one sentence.
all one thing.
Kylo siphons mastery from the target enemy. Doubled if they're stunned, which can't be resisted.
Yes.
Okay. Nowhere does it say
And
there
siphon
that he
mastery
adds that to himself.
Siphon
And siphon-
mastery
Yeah,
is the
but
next
siphon-
line below there. Siphon
Siphon's
mastery gain a
mastery is
percentage of
explained.
mastery. And the siphon mastery is
equal-
from the target enemy.
No. It's from
It's
the
just-
buff you've got. It's the siphon.
Hold on.
You are
Hold
gaining
on.
a percentage
Hold
of
on.
mastery equal to your siphon. That's what it says. It's not saying
Yes.
based on the opponent's
From
mastery
the
you're
enemy.
gaining.
Target enemy. Okay, replace siphon mastery with what it says down there. It says Kylo gains a percentage of mastery equal to this unit's siphon until the end of the encounter, and target enemy loses that much mastery from target enemy. Just replace replace that yellow siphon mastery with the text below. Kylo gains a percentage of mastery equal to this unit's siphon from the target enemy. It's all one thing.
From the target enemy. Okay, I wonder what chat is saying about this. See, I wish there was a way for us to test. There is actually a way to test this. There is actually a way to test this, right? All you need is a variable. Yes, there is. There easily is. You need a target that's, say, relic level 1, and you need a constant being your Kylo, right? Then you need the exact same target, but say he's relic 9, so we can get a clear distinction. And then you need to compare the damage as it ramps every time you siphon.
Yeah,
because
but there-
theoretically,
there's-
in your scenario, in your
many-
scenario, he should ramp damage slower, right? Because
You
he's
would also,
siphoning their
you would also
mastery.
need you would need a third unit because if you're siphoning from somebody, then if somebody relic 1 versus relic 9, their defense, all their resistances, all that stuff will come into play too. So you would need a third target, say a tank that is sitting there that you can go and hit every once in a while and see what your actual damage output is going to be on that guy versus the first one.
Okay.
So you could test that, yeah.
Yeah, fine.
Just
Yeah,
have,
you could definitely test it.
Yeah.
You just need to have a variable there. You need to be able to swap out the target GL because they're never going to lose their mastery, right? So you'll never be able to siphon below 0. So it should that should show a constant. And in my mind, it shouldn't be a different damage calculation based on how much he's ramping. That's how I see this because he's.
So what happened? The short of it is this: is what happens. It's like, let's say you're swiping versus Lord Vader, who is relic 9, so he has 75 mastery. You have 100 siphon stacks, so you gain 75 mastery when you swipe against Lord Vader. Okay.
Yep.
Then let's say the next time you get to your swipe, you're at 150 stacks of siphon. Okay.
Yeah.
So when you swipe the next time, you will gain 112. And then add that to your current mastery.
Yes.
So
you
were at 75, you would be
Yeah.
at 150, and then you would add this, and you'd be at like 270 something.
Well,
260 something.
So hang on, what was his hit? You said his stacks of siphon on the second attack were 150?
Yeah. So you'd multiply the mastery of Lord Vader by 1.5.
Yeah.
So you would gain 112 mastery on the on that next swipe. And then when you get
whereas
to
I think what is happening is, say we've got that same 150, yeah? So you've got the same 150, and he's got 150 mastery. What you're doing is you're multiplying 150% times 150, which is your mastery. So that's going by 1.5, and then you've got 225 mastery. Instead of, and then the next time, say we've still got 75 mastery, we're gaining 0.75. So we times that by 1.75, and it'll go to 393. So because your base mastery is increasing and you are multiplying your mastery by your siphon percentage, this is going to ramp. This is compound interest, as I was trying to explain before, because your base is increasing.
But
it's not.
But
it is though.
It's not.
No,
it is though. It says it's stacking.
It just tax right on. It stacks on top of it. It's not multiplicative.
It's additive. It even says it in the mechanics that it's additive.
Yeah. No, I know it's... Okay. It does say it's additive there.
Yeah.
But so just stacks right on top of it.
So what
this is the reason, if you look at Lord Vader, this is the reason that they changed the way his stuff works. Because Slacker can go and siphon mastery from his opponent, and it depends on how strong his opponent is. Lord Vader siphons mastery from his team, so they're like, ooh, let's make him siphon mastery from his team based on how all our relic levels are, so we need to invest more on our team. So,
I understand
Kylo
that concept,
from his opponent's relic levels, so you need higher relic levels over there. Lord Vader is the opposite; he siphons from his team, so you need higher relic levels over there. They learned their lesson with that one.
Okay, fair.
So, in short, what happens is that every time he swipes, he adds a percentage based on the opponent's mastery.
So so say they've got 75 and he's got he's getting 400% times their mastery. Okay,
Them using percentages really fucked this whole thing. They should not even have done that.
So he'll gain 300 mastery from that swipe and add it to whatever he has as a total. That's why Lord Vader or Slacker has this weird build, because the first few swipes aren't doing, especially versus Lord Vader, they aren't doing anything because you're not critting, so your siphon builds very, very slowly. Sure. And then once you get to a certain threshold, all of a sudden you're just destroying things because the multipliers on your damage stats get really insane. But it takes a while to build up enough damage from your mastery going higher and higher to get to reflect that. But that's what's happening is you're stealing the mastery and then you're going up. But that's to a point where Slacker likes to steal different characters because there's different mastery to be stolen, and you want to bring everyone else down because Slacker can make them go negative. With their mastery. But
so if you have a choice, if you're facing a Lord Vader team, there's a Relic 9 Royal Guard and a Relic 7 Shore Trooper, siphon from Royal Guard. Don't siphon from Shore Trooper. Siphon from Royal Guard.
Yeah, and that's why you stun them first too. It's not just
because it doubles up.
You stun them and you're getting double, so then you ramp faster. But
gotcha. Okay, I think I understand it now. Yeah. Well, no, I mean, I understood both concepts beforehand. I just didn't think that's how it was going because the mechanics worded it stupidly, in my opinion.
Yes, it makes it seem like it makes it seem like it's stealing his it's increasing his mastery by the percentage. But what's happening is that you're stealing a percentage of their mastery, and then it adds to yours.
So that's the kind of funny thing about him then. So because if they let you siphon mastery from the opposing GL, it'd get to a point where he would stagnate, right? He just wouldn't increase any more mastery. Say it was just a GL left, and he siphoned, but he's already siphoned 100% of the GL's mastery. He wouldn't ever ramp any more damage, right? Because he's capped out.
It's just based on their base mastery. Because even the regular one, even if you siphon from a Relic 9 Lord Vader and a Relic 9 Royal Guard, they'll actually lose mastery and everything. But they're not going to. It's not going to change the amount of mastery that you are ripping from them. It's still just based off of their base mastery, not their current mastery.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yeah, because that was the only way to prevent Kylo from becoming worse as the battle went on, because it only takes a few swipes to push them negative. It's
I thought that's why they introduced the negative, right? So you can't go below negative, so you can't lower your own mastery by swiping, right?
They got rid of the negative mastery for Lord Vader because
because of
well, so you can still have negative mastery. You can. I've done battles where Slacker has swiped Kenobi enough times, and you just look at him wait a minute, where's Kenobi's protection? Oh, he has protection mastery. Oh, that sucks. It actually took away his protection. Because he lost that much mastery, and it actually was a thing. They stopped Lord Vader's ability to siphon negative mastery because he was stealing negative mastery from his team, and he was doing 1 damage, and it was really silly. It made me happy.
That is a little bit silly.
So they changed some of those things to interact differently, so they didn't make Lord Vader even worse. Which,
yay!
Yeah.
But anyways. So, next, whatever we were talking about before this got derailed.
I can't even remember, but that's why we're here. We're here to just chat about shit. So we did talk about GAC, and then we started talking about Slacker, because, who needs him?
Because we were talking about the thickness crons. Oh god.
Oh yeah,
That's what it
thickness
was.
crons.
We were trying to ramp up and stack through the thickness. That's what it was.
That's it.
how we got
down
here.
with the thickness.
Yeah,
and that can be the name of this podcast episode then. Down with the thickness.
Perfect.
Delicious. Okay, perfect. So let's talk about the latest and greatest, the new king of fleet meta. The one ship that has surpassed both the Profundity and the Executor in all measures. How you guys finding your Leviathans?
In some fairness, 7-star is a different world than anything
Agreed.
below it.
Yeah, definitely.
7-star is not as fragile or as beatable by anything that's not Executor or Profundity.
Yeah.
Things still can, but sure.
Sorry, real quick. I thought when you were saying the new king of the fleet arena, I was waiting for you to say the Profundity. How are you guys enjoying being Leviathans with your Profundity?
I mean,
Yes.
my Profundity is sitting quite happily back there in first.
Well, the funny part is too is that is that the Profundity, even if the Leviathan is able to capture your Profundity on offense, it will still likely time out because of the bug with the Interceptor, so that they can't kill your Y-wing and they just sit there and laugh at you maniacally as your team just times out.
It's fun.
But yeah, the overall on the Leviathan is that the 7-star investment makes it better to deal with the different mechanics that are in there, and changing your lineup too, because right now there are issues, like I told you the other day, like the dagger just doesn't do anything in the starting
No, it doesn't feel like it does. I mean, the only benefit I have from it is the cleanse. The cleanse can be useful. The bonus turn and the cleanse that he does can be useful. I know you're saying it counteracts your own ferocity, but below 7 stars it's not really an issue because you don't really gain much ferocity.
Yeah. So, it's true, but for me too is like I just rather run the scythe out there, because then the scythe goes the scimitar, sorry, not the scythe, the scimitar, and then you just let them wail on the B2 forever, and then you just go through your turns. You reinforce with dagger first, you reinforce with interceptor second, and then you blow up the Y-wing, and then the battle's just a piece of cake from there.
Gotcha.
And there's just some advantages to that, but I mean, like it's only one relic level higher scimitar, because I did it for platoons like 6 months ago.
Yep.
But the outside of that, I mean, it's like it does fine. It just the hard part of it is that it's just easily beaten even at 7 stars by the Profundity. And if you happen to lose, like the biggest issue is that it's attacking with it. That's with the Profundity. That's only a risk. I think Leviathan's just going to on defense.
My problem is with just the statement. Like, as a fleet, if this came out without any hype, without any fanfare, it's just like, by the way, guys, we've got a new capital ship. It's on par with Profundity and Executor. I'd be absolutely fine with where it is right now, apart from the obvious bugs, like dazing your own team and killing the enemy ships. Plethora. Yeah, it's got so many bugs. Like, I'd be okay if that's how it was communicated. I'd be like, yeah, all right, fine, cool. But it's the way they've tried to sell it as this new meta fleet, and I look at it and I think offensively, it doesn't perform better than Profundity or Executor, or hell, even like Chimera and Executrix with optimal Empire lineups, and even with Sith ships, right? And defensively, it doesn't perform better than the Profundity or the Executor. So how is it better? If it's worse banners and it holds worse, where is the upside? Especially when the cost is so high. It's like, I don't get it. Either call a spade and say, yep, this ship is just on par with Executor and Profundity, and I'd even stretch to say it's probably not on par with them. That it baffles me. I'm like, it's not what they're selling it. That's the problem I have. I don't care if it comes out and it can beat shit, but it's just,
we'll
yeah.
We'll have to see once they fix all the bugs and everything, if it's going to be if it's still going to be performing as it is. If they fix everything and it's capturing the ship properly, it's doing all that stuff. There's no more bugs, no more nothing, and it's just now dumpstering on things, and it's the counters suddenly don't work as well. These things suddenly don't work as well. I will 100% change my tune. So I gotta withhold final judgment until we really see the ship performing. working as intended.
As long as they actually
So to
fix the bugs, because it's like
Yes.
dazing your own team is really infuriating. You know, because that's just like you can't pull to assist, for example, like the mass assist from the Fury. You can't get that, so you don't get the debuffs. There's the have you seen the bug with the Millennium Falcon where you can have just one thermal detonator, and the enemy will cleanse all its debuffs every single time they get one debuff. It'll be like, oh, you ability block it, and it just cleanses immediately. The stun comes in, cleanses immediately. It's one debuff and it's cleansing constantly. And the fear cleansing itself. So the enemy's feared with the basic after the ultimate, and it just cleanses and they take a turn anyway. And like, come on, man. That's like supposed to be the useful ability my ship does now. So it's just...
And that's why I'm saying I don't know if I can really like make a judgment right now, because there's so many like little things which are like just screwy and bugged and whatever with it that, you know, it may change drastically. It may change like a couple little things that they got to tweak and get working right, and suddenly this is the new menace, which maybe profundity beats 60% of the time, and you know maybe it might have an empire counter that works 20% of the time. You know, it may end up being that crazy menace. So we'll see how that ends up going.
Yeah, I mean, we've got to tread carefully, right? We don't want to overtune anything. We don't want anything being completely unbeatable.
Right.
But
yes,
I feel like it should offer it needs to offer something. And I don't feel like it offers enough right now, because we don't need another offensive fleet. In my opinion, anyway.
And that's basically where like for me, I've got a 7-star. And I am comfortably winning versus everything I fight with it, no problems.
I'm mostly putting
some things differently just because of the AI. You know, I want to make sure that my Mark 6 actually does it. But I mean, I'm like actively right now climbing in Fleet Arena. I'm going to have a 75, maybe 74 banner win here. No problems whatsoever. And the fight was never really in question. But that's the downside of fighting the profundity, is that's all a ruse, because if they get more assists, like I can't get the days out fast enough, or they're opening salvo, causing a ton of people, and they get through my first life on the B2 on their first turn, and you know, other things of that nature. They get their contract really quickly because my critical hit immunity gets dispelled. You know, there are things like that happen where then they can get ahead, which I think is kind of intentionally baked in there to do those things. Just so that you know you can't have a snowball's chance in winning. But once they iron out all the bugs, I think it's not going to be as bad as everyone's giving crap for. I think the CG just literally said we are not going to do another profundity where it's like 4 stars and dominating the executor. It's like we want to be 7 stars.
Did they come out and say that?
No, but they never said anything about it having low star viability
no, they didn't.
either. So
right.
No, I'm okay with it. If it has to be 7-star to be, you know, what it's supposed to be, then I'm okay with that, because there has to be value behind having something 7-star. There has to be. It's the same in game, you know? You can't have a non-7-star character. That's fine. But I just want what they're saying it is.
That seems like they learned their lesson. Like, if people were able to get away with the 4-star profundity, okay, let's make it only work at 7 stars. Fuck you. Whale your way to 7 stars if you want to give a viable ship.
That was the conversation we had like a month ago, Scribe, where I was like, if this dominates the profundity at 4 stars, then I see literally no reason in game whatsoever
to take it to 7
stars besides air matches. But if that's the only reason, then nobody's really going to invest more into it, because why would you drop an additional 26,000 crystals on a on a fleet that you can just take the offense for the next 6 months until you can, you know, do a couple refreshes every time the event comes around. And that's where I feel like it's where they sold this way. They want it to be 7-star viable. That's why the reinforcement thing is only applicable at 7 stars. Surprisingly, how beneficial that is to have when you start getting the 7-star fights, to having their, because you can time it, right? You can do it early.
You get the 6 stars, right?
Phantom.
I've got it 6 stars. Yeah. And that's one of the things that I'm doing, because I'm running 6 stars. I'm not using a standard full comp. I'm actually running Phantom and Ebon Hawk as 2 of my reinforcements. I use the Ebon Hawk versus the Executor, and I use the Phantom against the Profundity.
Okay.
That's just one thing, because, with the Phantom, you reduce the cooldowns, then you can bring in the Interceptor and kill a ship right away. So I find that handy. And right now, because one of the many bugs is that the Interceptor can actually target people who've got outmaneuver. So you can target the MILF. I target the MILF because that stops them from having the cleanse bug where they always cleanse all their debuffs. Yeah, I know, granted, they would normally cleanse anyway, but there's so I'm using bugs to counter bugs within the bugged fleet. But I use the Ebon Hawk to get rid of the tenacity up, and then, also give myself chaff. But bugs. Am I right? The chaff from Ebon Hawk is super useful against the Executor when you're not 7 stars because it slows down their ult. Right, and it gets rid of the tenacity up.
And the dispel, getting rid of the tenacity up.
Exactly.
Huge.
But the problem with it, so this is the long-winded way of where I was trying to get to, is because I'm not at 7 star and I'm using this weird comp, I've got less Sith in my lineup, which means after a very short amount of time, my B28 is never going to bloody taunt. Because it only taunts through your Sith ships either evading or getting crit or dropping down below 100% health. And I run out of bloody Sith ships, so it just sits there like a fucking plum. And I'm like, you're a tank! Tank, damn it! Take the hits!
Where is the Leviathan second special that does what the Endurance does, which goes, hey, you, 100% bonus protection, crit immunity, and time. Go! It's like, what is this bullshit?
I just want the Leviathan to have, what's tank tech as one of its abilities. There, just chuck that on the bomber. Throw that shit on me.
and literally though, like you talked about this, I think the other day on one of your streams, was like, why doesn't the Sabotage Engine's ability cleanse breach?
It so should.
Because what's the point of getting breach immunity if you already have it? Like, it's not going to stop the Endurance or the Executor from still procking off your currently located.
Oh yeah, the ship is so damn slow you can't do anything.
And so it's like
please.
there's so many mechanics I don't understand why they didn't think of it, because they had to do the same thing with the Executor, right? The Executor was like, oh well, we got to provide tenacity up because we forgot about the days from Negotiator, and that makes it so that our whole fleet goes to hell. And so it's like, well, why wouldn't you guys think this through more? This feels like a pretty obvious thing to
also with the Executor, there was the heal ability, which would always cause every ship to taunt, right? And they got rid of that. They said only tanks taunt, because that used to screw with your Slave 1. You'd be like, I just want to heal him. or your Xanadu Blood or whatever.
Razor Crest, can I not make him taunt, please? That's just so
idiotic
rude.
thing where they were convinced that we would only ever attack Hound's Tooth. It's like, you realize if it's not taunting, I'm gonna go anywhere else, right? Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Do you know how to play this game or no? Okay.
Yeah. It's not my fault you guys made all the bounty hunter ships slow as shit, right? Not my fault the GR fleet has got some of the fastest characters in the game outside of the Empire characters. Yeah. And we would never abuse those mechanics.
This is where I want to sort of pick your guys' brains and get your professional opinion. And I'll go Carl first, and then I'll go Wolf. What would you change if we ignore bugs, right? If we say all bugs are fixed, is there anything about the Leviathan kit that you would fundamentally change to give it slightly more of an edge? And what would that be?
Oh, I got it.
The main thing I would change is I would, on the B2 Second Life, I would give it 2 turns of undispellable critical hit immunity. Because that will slow down the Profundity's ult, but allows you the opportunity to kind of still deal with it, because it's gonna be, it's still weakened. And the other thing with it is that I would try to get it to provide some sort of tenacity up when you use the Sabotage Engines. Because it's like the breach immunity, if you get the breach immunity down and then you do tenacity up on the team, it will slow down the Razor Crest from being able to just say, well, I'm just going to ignore you anyways, and then go put target lock and breach on somebody else, because it's only single target, breach immunity. It's not the entire team.
Yeah, well, so exactly.
I feel like they didn't do enough to prevent the easy stuff from just kind of going through. But the other thing I would like them to see is when the Leviathan captures the bridge, is for it to rewrite the specials. And I know this might be more challenging than they want to get into.
Oh,
but,
yeah. So you can call your allies to assist and all that, yeah.
Well, it's like, what's the point of using the Profundity's heal if I can't heal my own ships, right? Like, it's specifically
That's
Rebels.
the funny thing, because, like, the Profundity, it's always better to use the basic and give yourself a bonus turn.
Yeah, well, you can use the... You can use the call to assist, the double assist one as well. That'll still function. But then like the Executor one's really annoying because like, oh, I gave the entire team fear. Let me just use the AoE and dispel it. You know, it's like there's just kind of things that don't make sense, and then you can't even call your team. It's like you get so used to like smash the AoE because that can't go wrong, and then you realize you can't call any
doesn't do anything.
Assist because it's all bounty hunter allies. So there are things like that I kind of wish I would tweak here and there. I don't know how much that would change, but like I would like to play with the bugs gone, and then I would get a better assessment of what I'd like to change. But like really just some way to make B2 have some sort of like permataunt. Like I would like it when he goes down the first time, like he hits that bonus life, he gets like a lock taunt and a lock critical hit immunity, and then like then you have chance to recover from that and get your allies
as
out
well
in the field. Yeah. Well, chaff would. I feel like you do if we go too hard in the paint here, then like Executor doesn't stand a snowball's chance, and I feel like Executor's the way they wanted it to go, being the more viable counter. It feels like this is really kind of designed to poo-poo on Profundity. So I don't know.
Which we know doesn't happen right now, because I keep hearing about people using Profundity, not calling reinforcements, getting max banners with the starting 3 lineup. It's like, okay, so yeah, that's pretty good. Wolfie, let me hear your opinions. I know you had some stuff that you wanted to talk about on Profundity, Leviathan, sorry, to fix. What would you do?
I'll say again, like we said earlier, can't fully comment before we see how it performs without the bugs. We gotta preface that by saying over there. But I'm actually 100% in agreement with Karth on the thickness thing over there. Some sort of ability to make the B2 have the B28, sorry, have a more reliable taunt, because that thing is rarely ever taunting. Like the scimitar, like having the fake taunt with the stealthing everybody else is like it ends up being a necessity at some point, because that thing just never wants to stay taunting. And it feels thicker on other fleets. Like, it feels thicker in every other situation I've used the thing. It's always like, oh, that damn B28 bomb just keeps on recovering, it keeps on. And then I use it in this fleet, and it's just like, okay, why is this thing so squishy? Why is it dying? It's just I don't know. The other thing is, I want the capture the bridge mechanic, or seize the bridge, or whatever it is, to have a second stage to it. The Death Star, or the Executor, has the second stage. It kills the ship, and then it kills the regular ships if you get to the second stage. The Profundity does it have the second stage?
No, but it's got the stranded debuff, which basically wins the match for you, right?
Yeah. They just fucking die. Like, good luck. There's nothing you can do.
6% health damage every beginning of every turn. And then
you can't recover. You can't do anything.
Yeah.
So I want the Leviathan to have a second tier ultimate, where the first tier they all hop on the little shuttle and fly over and go and take the bridge. The second tier they sabotage the bridge and fly back over to the Leviathan, and the capital ship goes and crashes into all of the fleets that are currently deployed.
Definitely. Why would you not do that? I'm pretty certain I put that in one of my YouTube comments. I said, ram the damn ship into the enemy fleet. Just kick them up.
It's obvious. It's right there.
What I want is, I want another graphic like they did with Darth Vader seizing the bridge, but I want it Malik, and I want like the opening cinematic from when he starts bombarding Telos to play, and then it just destroys the enemy fleet. Like, give us like the briefest like little reason of why we had to R9 Malik for this fleet, and just like you just see like Malik on the bridge pointing outward, and all of a sudden like the laser cannons just annihilate the fleet. Like, that would be, and that's the exact point that they bring up, is that why does the Leviathan's power just stop so suddenly? It's like, you've taken the enemy capital ship, but the enemy capital ship, you know, I don't know what fleet they were testing against where that made sense, because like each fleet or each capital ship has some things like the endurance and the executrix and the chimera.
You get like some offense
all
up
have
to your
some sort
team.
of
That's
heal
okay.
or buff
Yeah.
or TM or something to help move the long, where it makes sense to capture those kinds of things. But like the executor and the profundity are very faction specific because they wanted to exclude
Of course.
you from using other teams in there, which is fine. But then when you take it, it doesn't allow you to use your own stuff, so you either don't gain the tags or it doesn't swap over to Sith or Sith Empire. And so it feels very underwhelming to sit there and go, well, I've taken the ship, but my basic doesn't do anything. And if the basic had an alternate version too, where like the basic did AoE, you know, damage versus just single target, like something that kind of goes, all right, we've done the cool things, now we just win, which is every other fleet's mechanic that they've come out with, and this one's just like, no, we're 5 yards from the goal. Let's just stop here, and then let's just see if we can slug it out with our no damage.
That is probably where I would try and fix things, is because like I get it at 6-star. I'm sure at 7-star it's very reliable to get to your ultimate before your opponent. I'm sure it is. Okay.
Yeah, very much.
So and that's fine. But my biggest concern is when you're at ultimate, it is such a boring fleet to play as, and it doesn't feel like, oh, I've taken the enemy's capital ship, they're boned now. It feels like, oh, I've taken the enemy's capital ship, and now I'm just gonna tickle them to death for another 3 minutes. They're just like, do something. Give me something like Stranded, or, as we talked about before, do something like ram the fucking capital ship into the enemy's fleet. We need to have something that makes it feel like, oh, I've got control of this battle now, I'm going to go. Or, you know, like, it can be something so simple.
Detonate the reactor core, and then
blow it up.
The implosion kills the allied fleet.
Yeah.
Well, because that's what they do with the Executor, right? Like, if you get to a second ult, it just destroys the fleet.
Yeah.
Like,
my reaction is pretty much, what now? Like you capture the enemy ship, and it's like, cool, what now?
Yeah, and it's very real, especially
like,
at the lower stars against the profundity. The timeout risk is so real. It's so real that you might not kill the fleet. And I know, again, this is lower star, but
yes.
Well, but especially since the interceptor isn't reinforcing properly, so you can't just one-shot the Y-wing. Once the Y-wing's gone, like the rebel fleet falls apart pretty quick.
They've got much less healing there.
Yeah, way less sustain, way less taunt, so you can actually get rid of like the outrider or whatever else. But then like having 7 stars also prevents that one reinforcement, so it's like they might get phantom out before you, but the ghost is going to come in and immediately blow up. So you're not fighting reinforcement disadvantage as well when you take the bridge.
There is the other thing that to consider, where there is like one other big bug in there, where capturing the enemy capital ship is supposed to, as far as I understand it, turn off the crew ability. And having the crew ability turned off would be huge.
It would make the Y-wing
are no longer immune to critical hits. They don't gain the defense and the max health. They don't have that crazy taunt or anything. They no longer have that shit. The cargo ships no longer be immune to critical hits. All of those extra things in the crew ability, like that crazy unique where it's 5 fucking paragraphs of different things, are all gone. So that's why we're sort of saying it's going to be a very different fight once that gets fixed.
This is something that they could do. When talking about the hangar one, sabotaging the hangar, that's the one at level 7. It blows up the first reinforcing first reinforcing ship, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So how about
reinforcing? But
yeah, exactly. How about instead they move that a tier up so you can get that at 6 stars, and at 7 stars, the enemy just can't reinforce anymore. That would fuck so much shit up. Because
that's
like
what the ult does.
Well, no, I know, but it would give you so much more control right at the start. If you could at 7 star, you just you take over, you sabotage the hangar. If you sabotage the hangar, you sabotage the hangar. How are they getting anything out? You know, it should be no more reinforcements. I don't care if they lock it to the 7 star, like I said, and just bring that other tier up. That would give it a real palpable benefit. It would completely fuck profundity.
It'd be too good. It would just absolutely eviscerate executors, because executor.
I'm okay with it.
You're not even on defense though, because the thing is with the executor starting with tenacity up, you're never getting your debuffs off, so you don't get your sabotage.
You don't get your first one, no. The hangers.
Hanger
You don't
for
get second.
a while.
Yeah.
And
So it's okay
like,
versus exec. So they can get a reinforcement. It fucks profundity.
I was thinking. Oh, sorry. I was thinking of the sabotage engines. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
The profundity would really hurt if you did that.
Because they would never get anything out.
Once the unique turns off, once the capital
that's going to be game changing.
That's going to be huge for a lot of things because their defensive viability is going to drop and a lot of things are going to go away. And so, like I said, there's a dozen bugs with this, and I would love to play it after they fix it and then criticize everything else.
Well,
but
I mean,
however, real quick, what Karth said, I think that them changing things to have like your enemy's capital ship you took over say, oh, you used to call rebels, now it calls whoever. I think that would be a great fucking idea. Sorry, Scribble, back to you.
Yeah. Shit, I can't remember what I was going to say. It was something really cool and profound. Just take my word for it. And you'd all think I was incredibly intelligent for saying it. What was I going to say?
I believe it.
Yeah. So I do feel like the early game for low stars is bad, but I don't mind if that gets addressed when it's at 7 stars, right? It's just the late game of the fleet. Oh, that was it. One of the things that would tempt me to this ship a bit better is if the ultimate did something like fully heal your fleet, revive dead ship, or something like that, to add banners to GAC. Just for banner recovery, to give it some viability, you know? Because like Profundity does it, right? You use the ultimate, you take away their ship, everybody gets crit hit immunity and heals up. So you can't damage them and they got full health and protection. Give us something like that so we can recover banners. You know, make it a little bit more palatable for GAC. It doesn't matter so much for TW, but for GAC, that would be huge. I will say, like, in general, they tend to try and have, like, the dark side ships, I don't think have as much recovery and stuff. The light side ones, they tend to have a little more recovery and that sort of stuff. They do the same sort of thing with like GLs. Like Slacker, his team just kills themselves off with losing their max health and everything gain turn meter, and JML recovers everybody and JML recovers everybody, and that's lovely, a very very pointed design decision they made with the kits. The Phasma TW Omicron with Slacker. You're like, oh, okay.
Just live long enough, and then just sneeze, and you kill him. It's over.
That's good stuff to see. Not as entertaining as the original Qui-Gon Jinn Omicron, where you could just like they kill your Qui-Gon Jinn, and then you just go, oh, Anakin gone mad, and their GL just disappears. Yeah. The whole team,
boom. I'm sorry for Scribble, you cannot relate, but Karth, I don't know if you've ever accidentally brought in Slacker in Conquest with a bunch of Ruthless Swiftness or some sort of Terminator game.
Does he kill himself?
Why?
Yeah,
he just kills himself.
One, if you do like if you do the ones that like the one that allows you to attack under protection by 30%, and then
Deadly Catalyst.
And then you have the Ruthless Swift, and then you have the Ruthless Swiftnesses that allow you to gain the turn meter. Like each one will proc individually, so he'll gain like on the first swipe he'll gain the turn meter for every single data disk you have that does it, and so he'll lose like
times by the number of enemies on the enemy team, right? Because it's triggering for each one dropping below 100.
Yeah, he'll lose about 10% per, and then if you have the deadly moment, the other version of it, the one they saw with the Conquest Pass, that allows it to proc at the additional
3 times,
tiers, then it allows everything to do that. Like Slacker does like 2 AoEs, and then he's like staring at you with 1 health left. He's like, if they
count the health bars,
touch me,
crazy.
If they touch me, I die. Interesting. Let's be careful here.
The original version of that data disk was, obviously it had the you attack under protection, but the original version of it was every data disk that triggers at a percentage health effect will trigger each time at 100, 70, 30.
Yeah, they still have that one. They just sell it with Conquest Pass.
Okay, so I don't even look at that shit. The Conquest Plus Pass.
They sell that desk with the Conquest Plus Pass. Yeah, so it's there. It's just
I miss
$20.
The early versions of Conquest had some ridiculously powerful 1 dots and 2 dots, like the locked heal immunity and plague one Like locked heal immunity when the enemy drops below 100% health and gains plague. Or
oh my god.
no, sorry, the plague one was the fear one. Like it was the fear one.
No.
There was one that does fear and plague when they drop below 100%
Yeah.
health, and then there was one that gives them locked heal immunity when they drop below 100% health. And they were like 1 dot and 2 dot data discs. So you have that with like deadly momentum. You do one hit, they've got locked heal immunity, plague, and fear for the rest of the match. Plague with locked heal immunity? I'm like, I'm sorry, dude. Like, I don't even have to kill you. You kill yourself. It was good times, man. Good times. But those days are long gone. Yeah. Yeah, it is what it is. Cool. So
we lost Karth.
We lost Karth. Karth has abandoned us, much like the Profundity. Yeah, no worries, dude. Yeah, so it's interesting. I would be okay with seeing and reevaluating Leviathan after the bugs are gone. My current concern is I don't feel it is still yet quite there once the bugs have gone. But I'm willing to accept that CG will potentially touch up and buff this fleet. Because they've done it before with both Profundity and Executor, and sometimes multiple times, right? It's happened. We've seen them rebalance. I just feel like post-ult needs a little bit more to it, because it's not fun, post-ult. It's boring. It's like, okay, I've got a capital ship with abilities that I can't benefit from, and my own capital ship, I've got a basic, which apparently is broken half the time. It's like, it should feel like I've ulted, now I'm definitely going to win. And it doesn't always at the lower stars. It doesn't feel that way. Even 100%. On defense.
Profundity and Executor feels like you ult, the battle's over, you're just cleaning things up, and it's just a matter of time until you just win. This one, they said they didn't want another destroy the enemy ship, another that sort of thing. It feels like they've sort of sidestepped and almost like backstepped a little bit with it, as opposed to taking it to a new level. So I don't. Again, we'll have to see once they fix the bugs. We'll have to see. Yeah. It doesn't. The animation though. Oh my god.
Oh yeah. I mean, come on. Yeah. I'm not gonna be mad. And it's not just the animation. Even the particle effects of when you've like sabotaged the hangar and sabotaged the engines. That's cool. Like it's active. It's like you can physically see the effects of your specials constantly for the rest of the match. Like their hangars are knackered. Their engines are blown out. You can see it. And it's like, that's cool. That's a nice touch. And obviously, storming the bridge looks damn cool. I do think, Wolfie, if we're talking about, ramming the capital ship, it would be really cool to zoom into the bridge and watch him just, like, turn the ship to crash into the enemy fleet. That would just be cool. I mean...
Seriously. They can do that, man.
Yeah, they could totally do that.
Absolutely do that.
Yeah. We'll have to wait and see, though. I'm not completely writing it off. I'm sure it will be worthwhile. I just don't want it to... I don't want it to go unchanged, and I think... For that change to happen, we need to be making some waves, right? We need to be saying, hey, CG, this shit's stupid. Fix it, Because otherwise shit doesn't get fixed, right? It just doesn't happen.
Well, yeah.
Because, I've had people call me out on YouTube and Reddit saying, oh, why are you even talking about it? We don't need to do anything about this. Like, how else are we going to get anything changed here? You know what I mean? CG's not going to just go, oh, well, if nobody says anything, they'll just be like, thank you for the 26,000 crystals. Cheers, guys. See you later.
As has been pointed out many times, we are effectively their testing branch. So they need feedback from us in order to know if things work. So
we are the unpaid beta testers, aren't we?
Obviously evaluate things fairly. Don't jump to conclusions. See how things go with the bugs and everything. But if you think something's fucked, then make your opinion known. Yeah,
it's. Yeah, I mean, we should do it reasonably, right? We shouldn't be bitching and moaning, but
that's
I get
the
it.
main
People
thing
get
about
heated.
whenever we criticize the game. It's like I get being bombastic and having these really like hard takes on what's happening.
It's
a lot more engaging to people. They like hard stances. They'll either agree with you vocally or they'll disagree with you vocally, and that drives engagement and viewership. And I understand why it's why it's a thing. But like for me, like I just like constructive criticism. Like you can tell them that something sucks, but you got to do it in a way that they can actually use the information. It's like I don't remember when the last time we had when they put out a survey asking like the state of the game. They wanted to know. I think this was like almost a year ago now. And people are just like, oh, I wrote this essay just tearing them to shreds. I'm like, they just hit skip, right? Like they didn't read it.
They're not going to read that.
you gotta actually bring an argument to CG and constructively and positively lay it out in a manner that's actually going to be productive. And so many people just want to be like, well, I just want to be angry. Like, okay, but then you can just go be angry by yourself. Like, it's not going to do any good in the game.
Hey, man, like,
anybody.
These are the same people that are like, I will never gear up my Rose because I hate her. I don't care if I don't get to have a GL. I'll never gear up Rose on principle. Yeah. I'm just like, all right, miss a GL. That's fine by me. Like, you know, you're cutting off your nose to spite your face.
And so, like, for me, I'm just... like, I don't mind people talking about like things that need to change and be improved on, but like when it's brought up in a constructive manner that actually addresses the issue and offers possible solutions, it is far easier for like CG to react and think about it, because sometimes, you know, when you're staring at a blank board, that becomes the hardest time to write something down. But when you actually have somewhere to start with, it gets your mind thinking on, okay, well, is that feasible? Yes or no? Okay, well, how about this one? And then you kind of get to where you can work off of those tangents and actually move something forward.
I mean,
it's not to say that CG is going to take everything that everyone says and, you know, bring it to heart, but it does bring to bear a little bit on their decision process. And I think some of our complaints from a couple of years ago are being addressed currently because we were vocal about it then, but we offered, you know, solutions to them, and they're implementing them. It just took time, you know.
You do actually raise, as a completely side note, you do raise a very valuable life lesson for people in their careers. Don't go to your boss with a problem, a bitch about something you don't like. Come to him with a solution to that problem, and that makes you look like a problem solver. You're like, you know, sales are down. God, I'm going to miss my bonus. Instead, go up to them and say, hey, I've got this great idea how to drive sales. And then actually have a great idea, obviously. It's better to
That's the trick
think about... Provide the solution. Don't provide your boss with problems. Think of it the same way for CG.
We just threw a pizza party. We're going to make great sales this quarter.
I mean...
If you go to your boss and just say, we have all these problems, he's going to say, well, what the fuck am I paying you for?
Yeah.
So...
Pretty much. Pretty much.
1,000 people can point out a problem. Only one can solve it.
Yeah. So be that guy. Be the problem solver, and he'll get you places. I promise you. I promise you. So yeah, it's an interesting time. I'm excited to see what they do. I just want them to actually acknowledge it, and I don't think we were going to get it this week. I knew for a fact it's going to be at least a week before CG come out and say, we're hearing concerns from the community that perhaps the Leviathan is not living up to expectations. We'll look into it and get back to you.
Yeah, my guess is that bug fixes are their priority right now, and they want to have those bugs fixed before lock-in on Tuesday. That's what they're gonna need to do. If they don't do that, then I feel like they're gonna need to do some sort of make good for the community, because I think that that's gonna be a real slap in the face with some of these things. Like, I can use the Leviathan.
If they want to give me, say, 90 shards of the Leviathan, all is forgiven.
Yeah, the one that I'm looking at is the bug right now that is the capital ship surviving after you take it.
I heard about that one in TW, right?
In TW right now, yeah, where the capital ship is still surviving after you've taken it for some reason.
Yeah,
who knows?
It still has abilities, it still functions, it still has its ult.
No. It's worse than that. You finish the battle and the capital ship is still there. So you have to go in and waste another fleet to win.
Yep.
No.
Yeah.
I've
seen it on Reddit.
It was a bug found out this TW.
That is really funny.
So it's like you go in and you win, and then the game kicks back and says no. Well, no, it's using the Leviathan offensively. That's
the thing. We put all of ours on defense, so I didn't use mine on offense, so I didn't get to.
I tried. It didn't happen for me, but somebody basically the executor was still
very
alive.
Specific,
the
right?
fleet was dead. I don't. They just said it was after they used the alt, and so I don't know if that's exactly, because I used my alt and did it, and it was fine. I even recorded the fight.
That is really funny.
But,
and that's it's like going up against just like a solo Mon Mothma. You'll start the battle and it'll just go victory, and you're like, okay, but now I've lost 5 banners. Thank you very much.
You can. There's been times like I've finished a battle like against Mon Mothma or something like that, where a character who escapes. But it's been at 0 seconds, so you never actually got to take the turn for them to actually calculate that they need to escape. Because they
Wasn't there,
escape at the start of a turn, and if you clear at exactly 0 seconds, you never take a turn for him to escape. So you're gonna go right back in and right back out, and it's shit.
Yeah.
I remember there being
same
very
idea.
specific bugs in GAC around something like that, where if you took in like Ayla and a Qui-Gon Jinn team, it would just cause nobody to take any turns. Like you'd go in and it would lock the game. It was probably about a year and a half ago now. It was a very specific comp. It would always cause crashes.
Bug,
different bug.
There was a
completely different one.
It was a different bug. You were thinking of the bug that Wolf, that was
I was thinking
like
of what
Oda C3PO
what Ben put in
three
chat.
characters that always retreat. Yeah, and then it would screw it up.
Well, it wasn't a bug. It was just people. We were using that to give people a report and everything because it was looking like it was cheating.
Oh,
you won the.
I
you
remember
won a battle
that as
in a few
well.
seconds. So there was like an auto ban thing. So like people were just getting flagged as cheaters because they won a battle in whatever like 0 seconds.
They won
so it's like clearly they're cheating.
They won a battle, and sometimes it would report back with negative seconds, and so like the initial
you're cheating.
Their
just like
their initial cheat detection software they put in that was like that monitors the game better. It was counting that as way too quick to win a battle, and so they were automatically like suspending accounts for it.
So they got kicked out of that week of GAC, so they'd lose rewards, lose all that sort of stuff, and then.
And I remember
it wasn't like a big
deliberately
thing.
setting that.
Stick. Yeah,
people were deliberately setting that on defense.
Yeah.
I was like, that's such a scummy thing to do, man. That's so scummy. Yeah. Like, come on, dude.
Yeah.
God damn. But hey,
it wouldn't be permanent. You know, it would get fixed in in a day. But you'd lose that week of GAC rewards.
Yeah.
And you're just
CG came out pretty quick with that one, and they basically turned off their auto suspend. For about a week until they could patch it to not auto kick them out, but it was a brief moment in time, just stupid. But yeah, there was a bug for a while that had certain characters with certain comps that would auto crash a fight, so you'd go in and it would automatically fail you because the fight would lock up somewhere and it would never report or finish, and so you'd fail no matter what. There was a bug with that with BAM a while ago too, where if you took BAM in and this was about like 9 months ago. It felt like it was last fall, but like BAM and Dash in a certain comp, or BAM and Bo-Katan somewhere in between there, the game would just glitch out and go, nope, you can't win.
Do you remember the in any phased battles, like in raids or in TB, if you did something like crossover a phase with Rey and Ultimate, it would mess up her animations. She'd lose the ult, and she'd be doing her cross blades thing, and she'd like stutter across the field. Would never come out of her ult stance, and it used to mess up badly, man.
My favorite one was the slacker bug in TB, where if you went
infinite ult.
If you changed phases with your ult active, or with killing as a final blow, activating or whatever, it just gave you infinite ult. Yeah, so much fun.
I remember that one. Yeah, so you'd always be invincible. Because I had multiple accounts at one point. I had multiple accounts at one point, and one of my accounts had Slacker. It was Smithy D's old account.
Oh shit!
So there was a time. There was a time.
He knows what Slacker.
Do you even Slacker, bro? Okay, so I want to jump over. I asked for people to submit some questions, so we're going to have a little roundtable Q&A. First question, and I'll pose this to Wolfie first, then Carthrick.
42.
Yes, that is the answer. Thank you. And what do you think, Carth?
Nice.
No. So, are all of you struggling with building relic levels and keeping up with new characters, ship releases, and the change from stun cuffs to Kairos for the new bottleneck, essentially? This is coming from a free-to-play player. He's like, essentially, the changes to gear economy. Are you guys struggling to keep up pace with what CG's putting out? So, Wolfie first, then Carth.
Yeah, from a free-to-play player, that's a tough question to answer. It really depends on where you're at, because there are free-to-play players that are sort of like very much endgame, and they're in the guilds that are getting, high crate rewards, high all that sort of stuff, and that's really like the the big deciding factor over there. If you're getting good rewards in crate, then you can divert pretty much all your other resources over to Kairos and that sort of stuff, and be using your crate rewards to get everybody to gear 12, to get everybody up over there. Focusing on getting things for the relic scrap and all that sort of stuff. The crate really is like the big deciding factor in that. So that's really like the big thing. Am I having trouble keeping up? Always. Yes.
Always.
This is Galaxy of Heroes. This is a constant. I will
CG
always
would be
and
doing
forever
their
have
job
problems
badly,
keeping
right?
up. Yes, because I am not Super Whaley Boy, so I will always have trouble keeping up. But the new raid rewards have been very good. It's been nice being able to like focus exactly where you want to go for your stuff and focus farm over there. The increase of gear, the increase of everything, it has overall been pretty decent. So yes, I'm having trouble keeping up, but it has been a lot better, a lot easier to manage everything, and focus where I want to focus and get where I need to debate.
Sure. And Karth, what are you feeling? I mean, let's preface this by saying Karth is an invested whale, shall we say? So different opinion to Wolfie and a different roster. So new kits for him are not quite the same, right?
So the short answer
I'm actually real quick. I'm almost 11 million, so I'm not exactly like super small account or anything. So we are getting up there. But anyways, Crowd is like, I'm 13 million, bitch. Get on my level.
Dangerously close, dude. I'm a 250,000 away. Leviathan's loaded me about 400,000 GP between the relic level increases and the 4 new ships. So well, it was hilarious. Side note, about a year ago, Scribe and I joined MC3 about a month. So it's about 11 months ago because
something like that.
Guild broke up in August. At that time, I was mid 10 million. So like not even a year later, and I've added 2 million GP to my account.
I have
not. Like, oh my god, I just need to stop.
Yeah, 10.87.
Nice.
The short answer is if you're where my account is, keeping up is not a challenge. It's just not doing side projects all the time. If you are just doing the minimum for unlocks and you get everything moved up to gear 12, then you're at a position to basically where everything's within an arm's reach pretty quickly, unless they just dump tons of stuff on you at one time, which is not very CG. Usually it's one marquee every couple of weeks. And so you have time to go through and farm the nodes that like your Kairos and stuff like that, or specific nodes for farming for like data for relic material. So like I've been farming bayonets constantly right now because I need the impulse detectors. So I farm that 3 refreshes a day every day, and things of that nature. But in the broader stroke from the free to play, the biggest thing with free to play, and this always comes back to a thing that I remember from Go Cubs, is people often get too tied to a guild where they either first joined or they have friends or whatever else, and they refuse to go to greener pastures and get better rewards. And so a lot of what ends up happening is that players get bottomed out in what they can achieve because they don't want to move along, and I'm not telling that they have to, but it's just something that comes up.
We're not advocating guild hopping and
it's just that it's easier to maintain if you're with a guild that's constantly pushing the envelope of what they can achieve and what you can help to do that with. So the main thing is that a lot of players feel like they're drowning in things to get done because they want to keep chasing the new and shiny and not working on building out the back end of a roster or filling out their GLs, or they want to get a GL specifically because they like that GL, which is fine. But like going after Lord Vader or JMK is going to be a monstrous task for a new account. Whereas if you're in a guild that's doing decently in like crate, like even doing like the 90 million in crate, right? You could pick up Splacker and Ray relatively easily because you can get the characters
Don't
to gear
taunt me
12
like
very
that, Cuff.
easily. Well, you have other things to chase.
He did say relatively easily.
and you can pursue those things because the gear inflow with a guild that's doing, getting at least all the Mark 1 currency that a guild can in the crate
It's
raid
huge.
is allowing you to get up to gear 12 very easily, and then it just becomes a
Oh, yeah.
relic gate, which is
especially for
all
those
can
older
of worms.
characters, right? Where they don't necessarily need Cairo until they hit gear 12.
Yeah, they need
super easy.
they need the 100.
Every new character is 400 to get to gear 13.
These days it
every
is, yeah.
new release, but all the old characters,
So
they was all the Carbonti crunch, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
And the
and the stun
Carbonti
guns.
no longer
stuff
an
like
issue.
that. Yeah. So it's a question of like, it depends on how you want to build your account, but it's manageable, but you have to keep in the mindset of like, you have to manage resources very keenly. You can't bring up a character that you don't want. You can't put anything on a marquee that you're not going to use right away. You have to be very frugal in where you put things, and you have to even delay farms at certain times to keep grinding on farming Chirotech. But the main thing comes down to is that you want to focus accounts in on things that are going to help you get to the next level. So like, you may not be able to in your current guild achieve a certain star level in the new TB, or they're not even touching crate raid yet. But if you have a team that can do it, you can get in there and start helping. You might want to start hunting for that. So I think that's the biggest thing, is like, if you're not close to that at all, that's where the struggle really becomes real, is that your rewards are so constricted because of the new setups that it makes it challenging to strive for things. But I think that's the other problem, is that a lot of people get really focused in on having the new. They want Java, they want JMK, they want Lord Vader, and those are some of the heaviest gear investment and relic investment characters out to date. And so it's like,
CG deliberately designs the game this way. They want people to be chasing the new stuff, so of course it's gonna be. Of course it's going to be tempting. You just have to ignore that and keep your focus is a huge thing, especially for early game. Absolutely. I guess the only thing I'll add is I'll add my perspective as the smallest account here. I'm only 9.7 mil, I think I might have hit now, thanks to the release of Leviathan. And for a long time, I was a free-to-play player. So the big thing, like Wolfie said, is the release of the Leviathan, the release of the Crate Dragon Raid, sort of completely, fundamentally changed how we get gear and has eased a lot of the early game crunches, which is great. You just need to maintain that level of focus, right? But the other aspect of it is CG has lately been very much throwing 3 different things at you at once, to try and split your resources, to try and stop you being able to hoard, to try and make sure you don't have crystals, right? We've seen it already. We've got the Crate Dragon Raid came out, and you had Jabba come out, and now we've got like Leviathan is out. We've got new GL layer coming out, and we've got Jedi Knight Cal just come out, and we've got a new raid coming down the line. There's so many different things that are out there to try and tempt you that it can feel incredibly overwhelming about where you want to use your resources and how you want to invest. See, you just have to break it down into tiny little bite-sized chunks and just be like, my immediate goal is this. I want to get Jedi Knight Cal. Let's just use him as for instance. Once I get Jedi Knight Cal and I've got his team done, then I'm going to focus on getting GL Leia, for example, because I want to be ready for the new raid when it comes out in 6 months or however long it's going to be. And it can be a very difficult thing to wrap your head around and like accept that you're just not going to have everything straight away. Everything comes with time, and sometimes that time is 3 to 6 months. It sucks, but it is what it is. The game's designed that way. Okay, I don't want to spend too much time on just that one question, so let's jump on to question 2, and we'll start again with Wolfie. We might as well keep this going. At what point
what did I do?
You just looked incredibly handsome. At what point do you see the number of higher end guilds shrinking on a larger scale? It seems so hard to have more than 30 to 35 members doing their part without being chased constantly. Not just my current guild, but consistently when the game was much younger too. So are we worried about participation? Do we feel like guilds are being stretched too thin, too much to go on with regular raids, stuff like that, regular TWs, TBs coming out so quickly now? What do we think? Wolfie first.
I actually have I want to say unique, but a probably, I guess, common perspective, unique but common perspective on this one, because a few months ago I did get absolutely burned out from doing TW, from doing all the higher level stuff, and just having to go and remod for this and remod for that and everything over. It just got to be a little bit overwhelming, and just for my sanity, I had to leave the guild that I was a part of for a very long time. I'm now with a bunch of friends, a bunch of the battalion stream battalion guild over there. So I am with some wonderful people now. But I did jump down from I think we were average, like, even when I was there, we were average like 10 million at that point. So we were not a small guild by any means.
Big boy. Yeah.
It was getting to be a little bit too much. So I needed to breathe a little bit, needed to have a little bit of time to relax and chill and whatnot. So it's already happening. I mean, it's already a thing. That point it was when Datacrons got introduced, and things just started getting uber stressful on top of the TW changes, on top of all of that stuff. When you're sitting there facing a wall of 50 Lord Vaders and then a wall of 50 Jabbas and a wall of 50, it's just like,
welcome to TW.
it's just painful sometimes. Yeah. It's just a little bit too much. So that time is already happening. And there are new people coming in. All the new Star Wars shows. You see on Twitch. I see new people coming in. New people. Hey, I just started the game. I've been playing for a few weeks. Yep. I'm working on getting to. I'm level 70. I'm working on this, and it's really encouraging seeing new faces and new people.
I think I've had like 3 or 4 people join my stream recently, and they're not even level 85, right? And that's encouraging to see that there's still new blood coming to the game at a certain pace. Whether they stay or not is a completely different matter, but it's still nice to see, because there was a phase when I didn't see anybody come to the game. Like, at least I didn't notice new players coming to the game. So it's good to see. Sorry, Wolfie, go ahead.
That was basically it. So the time is pretty much is already upon us of when some of these guilds are going to be having some recruiting problems, having people dropping out, having people taking over accounts, and trying to run multiple before they go have an aneurysm of their own. But I don't know what they do at this point. Because they just need to keep on doing more and keep on doing more and 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 more. And the more they ask, then the more people are going to start burning out. Some of the stuff I will say, like the simming of the conquest nodes.
Oh yeah,
that was a huge, especially for the later end guilds, the later game guilds, the bigger guys who care about the datacrons, who need to have the right datacrons, who need to have enough datacrons, all that stuff. That's really big for them, so they don't need to sit there and sim
huge
for
quality of life
half
thing.
An hour or whatever. Yeah, for 2 minutes we're done.
Yeah, instead of 2 hours.
Yeah, so stuff like that to reduce the crazy time engagement is they need to keep doing things like that. Simming assault battles, simming the conquest stuff, stuff like that is exactly what they need.
Can we get a sim for Smuggler's Run 2, please? Like, I can 3-star that shit, but I don't want to spend 15 minutes doing it. Like, come on, just let me sim it. I've done it. All right, Karth, what do you think about player burnout and the constant requirements for activity in general? Oh, you're muted.
Probably help if I unmute myself.
Yeah.
For a good portion of it, I would say that the player burnout is getting pretty real right now, just because of the level of constant engagement. They are making strides to make it better, but I think it's going to be a thing that between guilds are going to have a much more fluid structure moving forward, I think. Where alliances are going to be a far more important part of it, and the fluidity between the guilds is going to be much more present, because what you're going to need to have is you're going to have players that want to be competitive and try hard, right? And so they should be allowed to migrate into guilds that's their mentality. But like Wolf said, to a degree, you can only sustain that for so long before you just start pulling your hair out, because either A, it's just too much physical demand, time demand, emotional demand. I know guilds where it's like, hey, when you're new to the guild, you have to stream every counter they give you because they want to make sure you're playing it right. And then after that, then they want you to record every battle so that you can, if it goes wrong, you can show, they can see it and they can help you learn from your mistake or whatever else. And
That's a big no
for some
from me.
players, that's just more than they want to get involved with. And so, so they want to take a step back and do something different, you know, and that's fine, but they need to have that fluidity, and then that kind of mentality needs to be shifted to the officers. You got to quit having this whole loyalty aspect to your guild, because it's you need to do, because we had players in our guild, and one of them was just rotated out recently, was they were just burnt out. Their daughter is heavily involved in high school sports, and they had no time to play, but they didn't want to give up on the guild. And I'm like, yeah, but I would rather have you go sit in a guild that is way less demanding than
doesn't give you that stress, right?
Still go. You don't
live your fucking life.
Yeah, but it's like, people get like this mentality, like, oh, I can't leave them behind. It's gonna hurt things and whatever else. Like,
life goes on.
The officer's job to deal with. But I mean, the fluidity needs to be there. You know, I would rather take, and we had this conversation here recently. I would rather take, you know, a dozen players at 9 million in our guild who are actively engaged in doing shit, than hunt for whales, you know, to 11 million GP accounts that are gonna be, you know, 1 week they'll be crushing it, and the next week they don't give a shit, you know. But that's the thing, is like, I would rather make those trades more open, like, hey, we've got 5 players who are good players, but they don't want to do, you know, they want a more casual TW experience, they want a more casual TB experience right now because they're busy, you know, and rotate them out with people who want to be, you know, who are much more eager to be maxing out their participation in those events. And I think that would help, but I think a lot of it is that the especially like in the MA Alliance, and I'm not speaking from personal experience there, I'm not really involved in it, but you get all these proprietary counters where it becomes very challenging to move people in and out fluidity, because you don't want them to get spread. And so that's how you kind of keep a lock and key on some of that stuff. So those ones maybe, but I mean, people who usually in those guilds are there for a reason. They want the ultra.
They like that lifestyle,
experience. Right? Yeah. But everything else.
Yeah.
Everything else, I feel like it's the solution's going to be more involved in players kind of disengaging from a guild as a home and more of a hotel. You know, it's like, I'm gonna stay here for a little while, you know, and then when it doesn't jive with me anymore, you know, my life is too demanding or whatever else, I want to go to a guild where, you know, I can just, because I am 11 million GP, I can take an entire zone in TW and set my roster there, and then
forget it.
I'm done for the next 48 hours, not to worry about it anymore. And that's how they want to play for a couple of months until they get their willingness to play again. And so I feel like that's kind of a thing that needs to be addressed, is that players just need to be more communicative on when they're feeling it, and then guilds being more okay with rotating players around.
I think ultimately it comes down to two things, right? There is the stress that CG puts on the game for us, right? So when we think about, it was said in the chat, Hell Week, for example. So you have GAC goes live, TB goes live, and you also have, Conquest, all live at once, and it feels like, oh my God, I've got to do so much stuff. That's the element of CG, is like constantly pushing you to do stuff, and maybe, you know, you're doing crate every 3 days as well, and it's like, oh, I've constantly got to be doing stuff. And then there's the other side of it, and that's kind of the expectations that we put on ourselves, or our guild puts on us, right? So you've got to be here. You've got to set your TW defenses. You must attack within the first hour. You must, sound off. You must record your battles, or you must do it in stream. We must watch you, and all that. So there's the two elements, right? And I think part of it you can fix. You cannot put yourself in that environment. You cannot have guilds push that on you. And part of it CG can fix. For example, giving officers more freedom when it comes to things like TB and TW. Like, officers can set a default defense for TW. One click, it applies it to the whole guild. They have to set up a template once. They can change that template whenever they want. They can press it, and it automatically assigns. Something like that would save a lot of hassle for people having to set defense. Same thing for platoons or operations in TB. Officers should have the autonomy to be able to set that for their players within the guild. Just be able to go boom, and it sets it. It takes out the stress. Nobody has to come online. You don't have to ping anybody. It just gets done. Sure, you might have a little bit of interaction, a bit of back and forth between the players saying, oh, you platooned my Lord Vader and now I can't do a combat mission. You know, I know there'll be that little bit of difference, that little bit of animosity to feel through at the start, but little quality of life changes like that will save us time would probably overall make it feel like, you know, you don't have to constantly be attached to your phone, or in my case, to your BlueStacks.
For this particular new TB, I would be a massive proponent of, you know, auto deploying your platoons if you can fill it.
Yeah.
Because
that would be great.
It's not going to change how the hotbot does it, and you could immediately open things up, and you could immediately have the ability to start doing your CMs, which is usually the crux of it for a lot of players. It's just not having the time, because like in our guild, half the guild is EU players. Well,
yep. Maybe less than half now.
Maybe that's a dozen players. Who cares?
Yeah.
Part of the guild is EU. And so when it takes us 6 hours to get platoons filled, or sometimes 12, you know, you guys are asleep. You know, no one's expecting you guys to stay up till midnight or 2 a.m. to do your CMs before you gotta go to work in the morning. And that's the thing, is like, most of us gotta go to work in the morning. So no one's gonna wake up an hour early to go do your CMs to get them done in time for the TB. And so
I think we afford to whale.
Yeah, right. So there's got to be a portion of it that if you can do it, they should allow you just to auto fill your platoons. Now, like they have had issues, and I've because I've in the hot util servers, CG has a huge issue with bots interacting with their API and interacting with their game mechanic. They do not want a third-party source to ever be able to do something for somebody else's account, because they don't want ever a bot to be able to access somebody's account and do something detrimental,
which is
intentionally or not. So like, even with the hot utils version of how they auto deploy their TW defenses, is that you still have to go in and give permission to place that team. Like you get a ping, like kind of how platoons work, you know, auto deploy this team. Well, you still have to get permission for it to do it for you.
Yeah.
So they're very much against that part of it, which that would be a hard part to overcome for other parts of the game.
Sure.
But, you know,
which I can understand. I mean, like, something happens, and then you know, you go and
you
move
lose
a
access
mod,
to your
and
account.
then it just disappears, and then okay, well, sorry, that mod's just gone now. Go fuck yourself. You're using a third. It just, you know, these are,
shit out of luck, son.
All
right. So
the more things to reduce the playtime. I'm
no.
a fan of.
I'm just trying to move us on from this question now. I think we kind of satisfactorily addressed it. Yeah, there's a lot of burnout, there's a lot to do, but some things CG can solve, some things we can solve. It's just about striking that balance. Don't be afraid to move on. Basically, find something that works at your pace as well. That's important.
Yeah.
Can I just say the funniest thing, just to wrap this up? The funniest thing is that a few years ago, people were literally running 3 or 4 accounts because they had fucking nothing to do in game. Because they were just like looking for things like, please give us stuff to do.
And now it's changed.
Anyways, sorry.
Yeah. So next question then. Does anyone here think that we will get a light side Mara Jade at any point? Oh, sorry, no, not at any point. As a marquee requirement for GL Leia. I mean, this is an open and shut case for me, but I'll go to you first, Wolfie.
As a requirement for GL Leia, definitely not.
Yeah,
I think there's probably 0% chance that it's a requirement for Galactic Legend Leia. I mean, there may be like another marquee or something like that. I think we're expecting at least like 1 or 2 more. So because Drogon's coming in, there's been
at least one data mined, right? There's been at least, but we don't know if it's a GL layer requirement. But we've had at least one more marquee data mined. At least the packs.
We know that Drogon is coming in, and he's he's going to be a marquee. He's going to be a GL layer requirement. I wouldn't be surprised if they do one more and have like 4 marquees for that. I would not be at all surprised if they did that. I think there's approximately 0% chance that it's Let's Let Mara Jade. Will she ever come into game? Maybe.
I can see it.
I don't think it's anything. I don't think it's on the docket anytime soon.
I don't think it's GL layer, but we've got a very deliberate naming of the current Mara Jade, right? It's Mara Jade, Hand of the Emperor, I think it is, or something like that.
Yes.
So it gives them the autonomy to do Mara Jade or Mara Jade Skywalker or whatever they want to do as a light side Mara Jade.
Exactly.
I think, yeah. But GL Leia, I think there's more chance of me being the next Marquis than that happening.
Yeah.
How about you, Carl?
It stands, you know, there's maybe, but it's not for Leia. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Sorry. Says but no.
Karth, you in agreement?
Yeah, I mean, I don't see them changing anything with the ones that they're going to do. The only thing I see happening in the long run here is they might have some additional marquees planned, because I believe the current marquees that they have slated were already up through Drogon, and then the last data mine gave us 2 more marquees.
Okay.
I believe.
Oh, it's 2 more, was it? Sorry.
Yeah, because I'm trying to figure out where I put the damn screenshot from forever ago, but you know, I post so much in Discord on the MC stuff that it's hard. I'm going and finding it's going to take me a minute.
No
but the current data mine has character 54 and 55, and I was pretty sure that 51 was wrecked. No, 52 was 51 was wrecked. 52 was Princess Khaleesi, and 53 is supposed to be Drogon. So I think 54 and 55 are
2 new ones, and
are 2 new ones.
Interesting. Okay.
Oh,
well,
Slan,
it's cool, huh?
No, I want the previous one, Slan. I want the one before that. He found my original post.
Oh,
but not the one I'm looking for.
So ultimately, I don't think so. Not like Mara Jade Skywalker or light side Mara Jade for that, but maybe down the line we might get her. Probably not anytime soon as well. I can't see Mara Jade just popping in. Weirder things have happened, but I don't think so. So we've got one last question that has been posed on my Discord, and that is, how soon do you think it's going to be before we get Relic 10? Is it going to be this year, or next year, or even longer? What do we think? I'll start off with Wolfie again.
I would say the earliest is going to be with the new raid. They might release
100%.
Relic 10 stuff with the new raid, but I wouldn't bet on it. I mean, Relic 10 maybe sometime next year. I'm not banking on Relic 10 for the new raid. I'm still banking on that's going to be a lot of the same stuff, and it'll have the Mark III raid rewards and all that, all those sorts of things.
Yeah.
So that's sort of what I'm banking on for the new raid. Relic 10 maybe at some point in the next year, but I don't think it's around the corner.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think if they were
Relic
to release
9
it
is already
this
a big
year,
investment.
it's already huge, and it's not exactly an easy investment either, right? It's not like Relic 9s are falling off trees, and they're going to have to do something to address the materials that will need to go not only to Relic 9 to 10, but the whole shebang, man. Like that cost gets real heavy real quick. So
there's a good reason we have stupid sub goals for Relic 9s, because it's a stupid fucking investment, and it's not a small investment.
No, I don't really want to be doing that for Chopper. I mean, now I don't mind it so much because of the changes to Phoenix, but whatever, you know. It's it's pretty hard. I think we will get Relic 10 at some point. I don't want to have the hubris to say, oh, we'll never get Relic 10. Like, it's going to happen. We've already seen hints towards it already, right? You know, with stuff like, is it Omega's Omicron for TB?
Omega.
Yeah, I mean,
they said max 10 for relic levels. For her investment thing, right?
Yeah. Is it a TB Omi or something like that? It's like stacking stats.
The TB Omicron for Omega. Yep.
But it'll probably happen.
Okay, Relic 10 incoming.
I wouldn't be like completely shocked, palpitating if it came with the new raid, but I wouldn't bank my money on it. Maybe I'd say maybe a 20-25% chance it comes with the new raid. Probably later than that. I think once we see the reward structure and what they're going to do with the crate rewards once this new raid comes out, it's probably going to dictate how likely that is. But yeah, what about you, Karth? When do you think Relic 10's coming?
I mean, it makes the most sense to show up with the new raid. Because there's just if they do not, which is like where we walk into speculation land, right? If
Yeah.
they do not pull away Mark III from the crate raid, which is the assumption, then they need to put something with it that makes it worth chasing, right? Like that's the main.
Otherwise, why
issue
would you run it?
Exactly.
For anybody who's missed out on that whole discussion and everything over here, the whole the featured raid, as CG has used their language, they have said is going to have the Mark III currency, and if the new Rebel raid is the new featured raid, then the crate would no longer be the featured and would then no longer have Mark III currency. This is all assumptions, has not been confirmed by CG, just based off of recent posts and past language and just careful readings and years of experience with their bullshit. So
they use words very carefully over at CG, all right, folks?
Very specifically indeed,
But I mean, I would, they always leave tons and tons of wiggle room for their stuff. That's what they do.
Cool.
But I would say for the most part, I would expect it to a degree to come up with a new raid if they plan on doing anything, because we haven't had any progression for a while. Now, the biggest things that are the most indicative part of when a new relic level is coming is when they start massively increasing the materials for the previous relic set, which we have not gotten. We've gotten one, and now technically it's two. It's still the same in the shipments, but they've added it to the curated little bar at the top. You can buy them, and they are also in the daily Jawa deals. So they are slowly adding more areas to get droid brains outside of TW. So if your account happens to get the curated crate for that or whatever else, like I just happened today in today's refresh, start getting my arrow magnifiers and droid brains back in my daily shipment tab. Then there are more areas to get it, but they're still incredibly a whale food item. They're still costing tons and crystals to get your hands on it. So once you see that kind of come out further, then I would see more of a possibility. But with the crate raid not even giving us Relic 9 mats, it kind of makes more sense for them either add Relic 9 mats with a new raid and it shows up later after that. That's where I kind of get stuck on the fence with this one. Is like, it makes sense for progression, but at the same time, we're just not getting enough R9 mats for it to make sense. Because it's not an easy way to go.
The other way that they could do this and is to actually lower the requirements to actually increase your relic levels. So instead of having 20 droid brains, you need 10 now. And I know there's going to be some outroar about this because people will be like, oh my god, but I spent 20 to get mine up from R7 to R8. But if they cut the actual requirements, then maybe you could progress at a faster... Well, no, you absolutely would progress at a faster pace. I doubt they do this, but we have seen them remove requirements from relic levels, like the removal of carbonite circuit boards and bronzium wirings for the later levels of relics. Oh, so good. Oh my god. If they keep doing that, Relic 10, they just chop off some of the requirements, that would be fab, but... I don't know. I don't see it happening just yet. It seems a little bit too far out of reach. And the other thing that just occurred to me right now, actually, is how do they balance Relic 10? How do they make it desirable outside of just having it as a requirement for a new GL? Yeah, what does it do? Is it going to give tanks even more protection? They'll give speed.
I think
that's what they'll
Relic
do.
10 will be a capstone. They'll finish relics with Relic 10, and then they will add something else that becomes the next progression system. So it won't be relics. Maybe it'll be.
Will there even be another progression? I mean, how do you even progress past Relic 10?
They'll do something. They'll do something.
They have
some sidestep.
Yeah. Well, it will be. It'll be a brand new thing where you'll take a combination of relic gear and gear, and you'll melt it down into let's just call it an artifact, right? Or you unlock specific abilities, and the abilities require this brand new salvage to upgrade.
Perks for characters based on their types. So I don't know, maybe attackers gain X amount of damage or ignore defense, but you need to sacrifice something in order to do it.
Basically fine tuning the relic system to be more super specific to the character. So it's like you gain a
relic
lot more.
abilities.
Yeah, essentially
that they promised in the original
3
relic
years
announcement.
ago. Yeah, so
still waiting on those.
The thing is like they're gonna have to get off of relic levels at a certain point because the investment cost is gonna be just too high.
Yeah, agreed.
To get to relic 10, you're looking at just asinine amounts of crystal investment, or you need to be in a very high-end guild that can get there. And even then, I think the rate still for the most part, if you are getting it free to play, is at most 1 R9 a month. That is the rate you can do.
And that's a pretty generous speed. 1 R9 a month is like, that's hard to hit as it is.
So to be very clear here, it's not cheap to get a character to Relic 9, let alone Relic 8, let alone Relic 7. Like, it takes a lot of resources, man.
I'm looking forward to having 40 Gerda keypads to go to Relic 10. You know, like needing 40, just going from 9 to 10.
Like honestly,
40 Gerdas.
My hope is when they go to R10 is that it is Zimbitals, Impulse, Arrow Magnifiers, Droid Brains, Gerda keypads, and then maybe one new material.
No signal data at all. Yeah, perfect.
Ooh, that'd be nice. Perfect. I can get behind this.
I doubt that would be the case, but
100 float signal
I
data.
do too, but I'm still advocating for it. Come on, Garth.
I want it.
Get behind the movement, please.
I'm just like, it's one of those things where it's like it's just a shift in perspective on it, because like for me, I don't have the same problems with relic hoarding as everyone else does. I can spend all of my time farming relic 8 mats because I don't need anything to I have 5 characters in my account that are below R5.
Like I said, there is some varying perspectives on over here.
That's not just that's not just your account. That's 5 characters in the game that you don't have R5. It's like, there's nothing left. There's nowhere. So whenever anything new comes out, you're just like, okay, I'll just gear all this shit.
Well, and that's
so there's a different perspective.
That's who progression. That's what progression targets, though, are those players, because they're the ones that are going to keep moving the ball forward and getting things done at a broad stroke. I mean, the people with like 14 million GP, they are accounts that have everything at R7. So, and they're slowly working through the R8s and then the R9s, and I mean, they're accounts that have like 90 R9s at this junction.
God almighty.
And so they are doing when CG looks at progression, they need to look at it from making those players progress, because the average player, even like someone like Scribe here, you've got what, 6 R9s and 3 of them are sub goals.
Like, who you call an average?
Hey, average is better than I normally get.
I mean, the average player isn't going to be playing at an 11 to 12 million GP account.
No, it's true.
More and more people are getting there, but I mean, I would say that the more of the middle of the road is going to be, somewhere between the 8 to 10 million group. That's just going to change how you interact with those kinds of things. So clearly the R9 investment isn't worthwhile enough, because what you're fighting and what it does not move the goalpost far enough down the road to make it worth your time. That's the issue with progression, is that it has to be worth the investment. I think that's where CG kind of hit the brick wall, is like the things that they've done so far, progression tapers out about R7. There are very few teams that benefit from being R8 and R9. There are some characters that benefit from it, but the progression wise, it's just not worth for most players en masse to take their accounts up. And that's why you see it forcefully being done for us with the new TB. It's like, well, you can only play if you're R8. You can only platoon if these characters are R8.
Which we've seen already.
Oh, it's very pointed.
And so they are forcing our hands into progressing stuff beyond and then Datagrams was the first iteration, right? Because they were, to activate, they got to be R3. To activate beyond above level 3, they have to be R5. For the character at the end, it has to be R7. So they've been pushing us to upgrade our accounts further and further beyond unlocks or whatever.
That's just normal for a game, right? A live service game has to keep. Because otherwise we stagnate. That's fine. All right, guys, we've been going for 2 hours, so I think we should just call it there. But do you have any final thoughts, Mr. Wolfie?
It's GAC time.
Oh no!
Gross.
I just realized that. Look at the time. I'm like, we go for 2 hours. Okay, it's GC attack time.
Nice. How about you, Mr. Catherick?
I think overall, as a final thought, it's just kind of, I think players just need to be a little bit more comfortable pursuing what's best for them when it comes to the game and what benefits their account the most, and find a place where that works for you. I think a lot of players get stressed out or overworked on trying to fit into areas, or making a sinking ship float again. That is a very stressful part-time career. And so I think for a lot of players, it's just have the rational thought process of doing what's best for you and your account, and making that your kind of your compass for when you play the game. And I think players will enjoy it a lot more when they
For sure.
And it feels a very selfish way to put it, but I think players will enjoy their experience and Swoga more if they play in a way which benefits them.
It's
absolutely
tough, but it's something that you need to definitely come to terms with. Trying to fit into a somewhere where you don't belong, it just doesn't. It's not good for anybody. So.
Yeah. Okay.
Unless you like to throw money down the drain. I'm done playing this game. Bye.
Hello, Smudges. I'm just going to wrap this up here then, guys. So thank you all so much. Thank you, Carl. Thank you, Wolfie, for joining me today. It's been great having you guys on. And
thank you for having us.
We'll be doing it again next Sunday. You're always welcome here, guys, but there is no obligation, of course. I will still host my shows. These shows are going to be available on Spotify and on YouTube and on Apple's Spotify, Discord, podcast nonsense. Okay, guys? So love you all. Thank you for joining. And I will speak to you all very, very soon. Peace out and big love, guys.